The ancient Chinese called it qi. The Romans called it spiritus. Hindus call it prana. The movie Star Wars called it the Force. It's supposed to be a powerful life energy suffusing the universe, one that mere humans can tap into to achieve superhuman results. Are there people out there who can really harness a mystical force to transcend our biological limits and even the laws of physics? Meet martial arts masters who apparently knock people out without ever touching them.
I fired up the chi, I went like this, I knocked him out.
We are not lasers. We are not emitting energy.
People who claim to levitate or even fly.
We understand how you can overcome classical gravity and how the body can float and fly.
Gravity is a law, the law of gravity, and it cannot be broken.
Mystics who inflict devastating wounds on themselves, yet show no sign of pain or bleeding.
The simple explanation is that this is actually coming from permission from divinity.
I personally saw nothing that demonstrated anything that was clearly supernatural.
Examine the evidence of mystical energies and superhuman powers with believers and skeptics alike, as science and the supernatural collide with polarizing results. Athletes and thrill seekers have always tried to test the limits of their abilities. They constantly amaze us with their abilities to run faster, jump higher, be stronger, go farther. Some are fearless, or just plain out of their minds. Some have tried steroids to achieve seemingly superhuman results. Some have tried science. But there are those who, down through the ages, have claimed to be able to tap into mysterious energies available from the cosmos, or through God, to attain superhuman powers. One of the most ancient and revered of these mysterious energies is qi, an invisible, ever-present, and supremely powerful energy that only the initiated can tap into. Arising in ancient China, the word qi means breath, but it's more than that. It's the essential functional energy of life. Believers contend it's what keeps the planets in their orbits and binds atoms together. Psychics claim they can see it in the form of glowing auras around living things. Qi forms the basis for traditional Chinese medicine techniques like acupuncture. And it's what some practitioners of the martial arts claim is the basis of their power. Harnessing this energy apparently allows them to break bricks with their hands and even their heads.
Qi, it flows throughout the body. Without it, you don't function. And it's a radio wave.
Science can't find qi. It doesn't exist as far as science can tell.
Without a doubt, George Dillman is a force to be reckoned with. He's a 9th degree black belt who has taught everyone from Muhammad Ali to Bruce Lee. And he's able to drop just about anyone using applications of pressure to certain points along the body.
You can't take it there. He's probably weak right here. You okay? This way at the same time. Pressure point knockouts are the easiest way to put a person down. I can put the largest person that you can find in the world, and I've done this. With that finger, I can put him on the floor. It's the guy that's the big guy, he's mad at me on the street.
But that's just the beginning. Dillman claims to have adapted this technique to where he can knock a person out without having to touch them.
Use chi energy out of this hand, and we're going to affect up on the head at the third eye. Snap, couple. Back, back, back. Down! There we go.
All of these karate techniques are made possible by manipulating qi.
He makes a chi ball. He'll get the radio frequency going between the hands, and if you get up and feel, it's actually hotter inside that ball. I've seen him already knock people over with it. He throws the chi in such a way that when he catches it, it knocks him backwards.
For Dillman, chi is like electrical circuitry that he can turn on or off with a simple, well-placed punch, or even just a tap.
We enter the chi into pressure points that both accept chi or give off chi.
Just gonna barely just happen.
I use ones to give off chi, put it into ones that accept chi. We, in essence, turn their light switches down. It kicks out their circuit breaker panel in the back. Pressure points can be dangerous. I've flatlined several people. To have it, you know you have
Dillman
it.
teaches these techniques in seminars all over the world, drawing attendees who are especially interested in finding out if his unusual karate techniques are real.
I mean, so many people have studied it and swear by it. I just had to see it for myself, though.
In the beginning, you're kind of like, well, I don't know if this is for real.
It's almost like a UFO sighting. It's like, well, I got to see it to believe it. You know, I hear these people do it, but until I see it, you know, it's one thing to hear, it's one thing to see.
They come to see Dillman's remarkable ability to move walls of people from 10 feet away when they can't even see him by channeling his chi at them and interrupting their auras.
I lock with their aura, and I move the line. I shouldn't tell you this, but I play with people in Starbucks, and I just stood there and I moved the line. And they all moved, and they all looked back at me at the same time. They went like this, and I looked back too, like it was happening to me. I looked because I didn't want them to know I did this, right?
But what really draws the audience's attention is Dillman's no-touch knockout, a karate move that could theoretically revolutionize combat as we know it, except that it can take years to learn. Essentially, he claims to be able to knock anyone out without touching any part of their body by just throwing a giant chi whammy at them.
Sometimes it drains me. I can get that way within a second or two if I throw the chi out too fast. Get back.
After seeing so many demonstrations, so many different techniques, so many different moves, you can't help but start believing.
They're opening up another door in your mind. It's just unbelievable.
I know I have chi energy. You can see it with the half moons. My chi is up now because of the filming. I have half moons in my fingertips now. That means the chi is just coming out.
But is the mysterious energy called chi really what's giving Dillman and his followers such extraordinary powers? Or is it, as skeptics suggest, simply a form of hypnotic suggestion? Later, we'll put this to the test, pitting karate master against scientist in an is it real showdown. Chi is not the only kind of mystical energy that people claim to tap into in order to transcend normal human limitations. Islamic mystics called Sufis recognize a spiritual energy infusing the universe, one that comes from Allah, sometimes called baraka, meaning grace or blessing. These whirling dervishes are perhaps the best known of the Sufi mystics. But whirling dervishes are not the only Sufi dervishes. These dervishes are from an order called Tariqa Kaznazaniya, and what baraka apparently allows them to do is nothing short of astonishing. During a ritual known in the West as deliberately caused bodily damage, they demonstrate the ability to wound themselves in various parts of the body with knives, spikes, daggers, and snakes. Amazingly, they claim to feel no pain. Also, the dervishes say that they don't suffer any lasting effects, very little bleeding, immunity to infection, and almost instantaneous healing. These rituals are considered controversial by most mainstream Muslims. Are these seemingly superhuman feats really the result of tapping into energy from God? Or is there some sort of self-hypnosis involved? These questions brought the Sufi rituals to the attention of alternative medical practitioner Dr. Howard Hall, a specialist in hypnosis and healing, something the medical establishment once scoffed at.
My earliest work was in hypnosis impacting on the immune system. They thought that was a radical idea. But the notion that there's some energy field facilitating healing is even too much for them to accept and understand.
Hall, a clinical psychologist at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, traveled to Baghdad in 1998 to see if these Sufi rituals were indeed an act of God or just a case of group hypnosis. Hall learned that the spiritual leader, called a sheikh, channels the protective energy to the dervishes. He was invited to see for himself that this was not a matter of hypnosis, but a gift from Allah.
When I walked up, I was asked to pull out one of the daggers out of someone's skull. Couldn't pull it out, and I was cringing, and it still gives me chills when I think about that.
But to really rule out hypnosis as the source of protection, Hall made the decision to try the ritual himself.
Well, look, all these people are doing this. There must be something to it. But if they're all faking me, I'm going to find out right now. And that was a risk. I thought it was legitimate, but I had to empirically and evidence-wise prove that to myself. A translator came up to me, said, "Dr. Hall, are you ready?" I swallowed, yes. And they said, "First seek permission from the sheikh to have you protected. You may have protection." He nodded. And the translator said, "Please open your mouth, Dr. Hall." And my mind was blown away. Wow, that's incredible. I'm not feeling pain. It's not like Novocaine. Pulled it out. There was no major bleeding, maybe a drop or so, and there's no pain. I knew it wasn't hypnosis because I teach hypnosis, and I knew I wasn't particularly hypnotizable to endure that type of pain and show that kind of rapid healing through a hypnotic process. And I said, wow, we're on to something now.
Hall was so inspired that he became a student of Sufi mysticism himself. Later, Dr. Hall will pierce his cheek for us in the lab in order to obtain what he hopes will be an actual record of the energy transfer. And we'll hear from a performer called the Torture King, who says he can do the same thing without supernatural intervention. But now, on what you might call a lighter note, people who claim that they can tap into the universal life force in order to fly. Since the beginning of recorded time, humans have looked to the skies and dreamt of flight. In many religions, flight or levitation has been a sign of particular piety. Catholic Saint Teresa of Avila could supposedly lift off the ground for nearly 30 minutes. Indian sages were said to levitate as an act of homage to God. But perhaps the most talented flyer of all time was a Tibetan monk named Milarepa, who could walk and sleep as he levitated. Apparently, the ability to fly has largely been lost in the modern age. But at the U.S. headquarters of the Transcendental Meditation Movement, enterprising students are trying to change all that. They're here to learn to levitate using a three-stage process known as yogic flying, a set of Hindu meditation techniques introduced to the Western world by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. They do this